The Chicago Bulls so far, the early part of the season, have been exceeding expectations, but one area is currently holding the Bulls back dramatically, and that's their slow starts and first halves. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about the start of the season for Ayo Dosunmu and Patrick Williams and the concerns that a lot of fans have there. We're going to do all that plus the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to start off with this. The Bulls, and it was evident last night, the Bulls are one of the worst first half teams in the NBA. As a matter of fact, they actually hold the worst first half net rating in the NBA, negative 18.2, and a defensive rating of 121. To put that in perspective, right? Negative 18.2. That means that the Bulls, on average, are giving up 18 more points than they score in the first half of games. And when you look at the Bulls sitting at 500 at 3-3, it makes a lot of sense of why the Bulls have had the struggles that they've had. Like, yes, they've been able to use their pace. They've been able to use their three-point shooting, all those things they've been able to use to their benefit to have these hot second halves. As a matter of fact, the Bulls in the second half have a net rating of positive 9 and a defensive rating of 99. Keep in mind, with defensive ratings, the low number is actually the better number, right? So the duality between that, right? The Bulls are such a different team in the second half of games than the first half, both offensively and defensively. And that really kind of bit the Bulls in the ass last night in their loss against the Brooklyn Nets, because the Brooklyn Nets are a young team that said, all right, bet, you want to play fast? We can match that pace. Even the Bulls were in a position to win that game. Cam Thomas then got hot. The Bulls could not find an answer for Cam Thomas. Shout out to Cam Thomas for how he's been able to perform. But overall, it just comes down to this, right? The Bulls have to be better throughout in totality of the four quarters. And while the Bulls have really exceeded expectations, the three-point shooting, the percentage, the attempts, all towards the top of the league. They lead the league in pace. They lead the league in defensive rebounds. You cannot continue to put yourself out in an early deficit, and the Bulls really got to figure that out. So, while I thought that the early test in this season was going to be to figure out, how to get Josh, Giddey, and Kobe on the same page or whatever it is, those things have seemingly, the Bulls have found a balance to that, right? The on-off with Kobe and Giddey on and off the court together still doesn't necessarily have the best, positive rating itself, but the Bulls have found an ability to stagger those guys enough, or to find the right balance enough to where they both have had effective seasons so far. The Bulls just have to figure out how to be a better first half team. And that comes down to, again, maybe it does take some maneuvering with the lineups. Maybe it does take some maneuvering in the strategy. Maybe the Bulls need to, just dig in a little bit differently defensively. And while Wes Unseld Jr. has done a really good job in the defense overall, especially in those second halves with adjustments, because the Bulls have typically been a terrible team at making adjustments, right? We got to figure out that negative 18 point differential in the first half. That's bad. That's bad. You cannot have that when it comes down to, you cannot continually get out to deficits of that magnitude and expect to win a lot of basketball games. So, the Bulls have been able to do it to the tune of being at 500 at the start of the season, but they need to be better. And so we'll see how the Bulls find answers to that as this season goes on. One thing that I'll say, I've completely doubted this coaching staff coming into the season. And most of my doubts for this team, the coaching staff have actually found pretty decent answers to. So I'm going to give them some credit, some time to figure it out. They got 2 days off. They get some time to really, keep in mind, I think people really don't understand is that, and this is fans generally, that once the season starts, your team isn't really getting practices in, right? So most of what you see, like they have shoot-arounds. They don't have a lot of just straight-up practices, right? So a lot of what you've seen, they've been able to kind of figure it out in just training camp, that 2-week period in training camp. So seeing how they go back to the drawing board with some time off now, they played a lot of games in a condensed amount of time. They get a couple of days off, but I want to see this team come out renewed and see if they can avoid getting out to an early deficit again against the Utah Jazz when they play them on Monday. That's going to be something that we watch out for. Now, in yesterday's game as well, Nikola Vucevic joined Nikola Jokic and Larry Bird as the only 3 players in NBA history with at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block on 90% shooting from the field and 75% three-point shooting efficiency. Vooch has had a great start to the season. And I think even the biggest Vooch doubters, I think it seems like most of those Vooch doubters have transferred now over to Patrick Williams, which we'll talk about that here in a second. But Vooch has had a great season. Now, whatever that leads, right, I'm not going to have the conversation right now on if that leads him out of the team or anything like that, but Vooch is having a damn good start to the season, and I wanted to spend some time acknowledging that. But let's get into what I know a lot of people are waiting to hear about, and probably going to be I always determine my thumbnails based on how the conversation goes. I would not be surprised if these two players are on the thumbnail of this video by the time you're watching it. And that is Ayo and Patrick Williams' defense has been great, right? But the offense leaves a lot to be desired, and we're going to do a deep dive. So when it comes to Patrick Williams, right, a lot of Bulls fans aligning his, over his offensive efforts and things like that. And we're going to get into the numbers here because the numbers support that. Right now, Patrick Williams, the thing that he is bringing to this team is defense. To the point of when Patrick Williams is on the court, opposing teams are averaging negative 8.1 points less per 100 possessions when he's on the court. They're also turning the ball over at a higher rate. They're rebounding the ball at 7% less. They're getting to the free throw line less. The fact of the matter is, every defensive metric supports that Patrick Williams is having an amazing defensive season for the Chicago Bulls. But then the offense, when Patrick Williams is also on the court, the Chicago Bulls offense has a negative 12.5 point differential. We're actually negative 20.6 points worse per 100 possessions. So when you look at the duality of that, right? While yes, Patrick Williams is absolutely a part of the Bulls defense and helping the opposing teams play worse and get less points defensively. He's also guarding a variety of positions, but the Bulls are also worse offensively when he's on the court, right? And the negative point differential is there as well. Patrick Williams has played his most minutes with the starting lineup and has a negative 12 point differential when on the court with Josh Giddey, Coby White, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic. But when you flip that, right, and you look at two of the best lineups with Patrick Williams in it, this is where it gets interesting. Patrick Williams' best two lineups are with Ayo Dosunmu on the court, and that's either with Josh Giddey or Coby White at the point guard position, so those are the two lineups. They actually have a positive point differential of 15.5 and 12 in those two lineups. What does that tell us? That tells us that Patrick Williams, while making a defensive effort and impact, he needs another defender out there on the court with him for his offense to not negatively impact the Chicago Bulls. His offense to not negatively impact the Chicago Bulls' overall ability to put points on the board and score more than their opponents. That's an interesting take to look at it, right? It's such a major duality because the Bulls are averaging, and so, like I said, that negative 15-point differential overall when he's on the court, but 12.5 of that is with the starting lineup. So for my Bulls fans that say, hey, maybe Patrick Williams should come off the bench, maybe that supports that, right? But he's still out there playing with majority of the starters. So it's just such an interesting place to be putting Patrick Williams in and find a way for Patrick Williams to impact the game of basketball, right? So he's making a defensive impact. His offense is clearly hurting the teams with the shooting percentages that he's shooting at because he's shooting the ball horribly from the field right now. So there's two things that you want to try to bet on with Patrick Williams. You want to either try to motivate him to shoot the ball better offensively, because if he gets back to being the 40% three-point shooter that he's been in the past and the near 48 to 50% field goal shooter overall from the field, that really does flip a lot for Patrick Williams. So right now, Patrick Williams' cold offense is coming when he's in the game with the starters, right? So maybe that lineup is just not going to be one that works out for him. So for my people that say start Julian Phillips, not Modest Bucelis, because I think Modest would be even worse in that case. That's not to say that Modest shouldn't play more, but there's something to be said with that. And then another lineup that we see Patrick Williams actually impact that could support him needing to come off the bench, he actually has a positive 26.8 point differential when he's out there with Ayo, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips. So let me make sure I have Julian Phillips and Jalen Smith. That's when Patrick Williams is playing the three, right? And so him and Julian Phillips having those two versatile forwards there is actually working for Patrick Williams as well. But that lineup has only played 7 possessions together, so we haven't seen a whole lot of that lineup. But it's just something to kind of, again, when you're looking at lineups and trying to find the ebbs and flows of lineups, it's really interesting that. But then you raise the question that a lot of Bulls fans are asking is, should we even be investing this much into Patrick Williams? And the answer to that question, I'm going to go business with you on that. You just paid a player $90 million. You're going to be invested in trying to find the best way that he can impact the game of basketball. But it's really interesting to see that Pat, when he has another defender out there on the court with him, is so much better. So much better. Everything gets better for him. The points per 100 possessions goes up by almost 10 points. He's actually, when him and Ayo on the court together, they're on average getting 104 points per 100 possessions. That's much better than any other lineup that he's in. And so you just got to worry about, or ask yourself, is the key? Again, it goes back to Ayo Dosunmu. Most of these players' best lineups are with Ayo Dosunmu, even despite Ayo's bad offensive shooting so far, which we're going to get into for a second here as well. So, listen, the Bulls fans that have been very loud about Patrick Williams, as far as him needing his offense needing to be better, you're right. Now, for the people that said that Patrick Williams doesn't positively impact the game of basketball, you're wrong. Every lineup that Patrick Williams is in, the opponents shoot considerably worse. Considerably worse. The Bulls are a much better defensive team with Patrick Williams on the court so far this year, and that's just because the Bulls don't have a lot of defenders. Him, Ayo, Lonzo, right? When you look at the Bulls' defensive metrics with those guys on the court, they are so extremely better, and Julian Phillips is starting to catch up with those. Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry are right behind those guys as well. So this team, Billy Donovan, Wes Unseld Jr., they're gonna have to find a better balance with the offense and defensive nature of this team. And the same goes for Ayo Dosunmu, right? Ayo Dosunmu is another player that right now he is playing so much better defensively. Lineups with Ayo Dosunmu, we talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to get heavily into it, are so much better. And that's overall offensively and defensively. The key thing with Ayo is that he just needs to shoot the basketball better. Ayo Dosunmu right now is shooting the worst in his career. We're talking about even worse than rookie year. 36% from the field right now for Ayo Dosunmu. 17% from three-point range. Everything else for Ayo has been solid. Defensively, he's sound. Passing-wise, he's sound. Averaging 4.2 assists per game so far, the most of his career, and he's doing that coming off the bench, right? Rebounding. Most rebounds in his career as well, 5.5. So the thing with Ayo just comes down to Ayo has to be better offensively. If Ayo and Patrick Williams wake up offensively and get back closer to what their career percentages are, you're looking at a Bulls offense that's already been good that can be even better, right? So it like motivating and finding a way for those two players to get better, and as they get better, and I trust that Ayo's going to work his way out of slump. Patrick Williams offensively, I think he's going to work it out too. It's 6 games in, so I'm going to have some faith there, but these guys got to be better. So while they're adding so much to the Bulls defense, we need better from them offensively, and so hopefully we end up getting that. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Enough of me yapping. It is Saturday. That means it's mailbag day. Let's get into these voicemails. This one's from Shay.
Yo, what's up, Haize? This is Shay. Look, man, I posed the same question to Bobby and C-Dub, and I'm going to pose the same question to you. If the Bulls are still winning at the rate they are, say, for instance, towards the All-Star break or towards, I'm going to say January and February, and we still happen to be the number 1 seed, or where we are right now, I'm just say top half of the East, and I'm asking you this question: do you still trade Nikola, Vucevic, and Zach LaVine? I'm asking your opinion. Me personally, I still would do it because when you look at it, lightning doesn't strike twice, especially if you're in Chicago, and we all know that. Seeing the fact that we haven't been to Super Bowl since 2005, and seeing as that we have won a championship since the Jordan years, so lightning doesn't strike twice for us in history. Do you still jump on the trade Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic train, although this team is playing good towards All-Star break? I say still do it because you don't know what could happen, especially with Vooch since he's an aging player, and especially with Zach since he has a big contract. But a lot of other people are saying things different now. I don't get me wrong. I love the fact that my team is winning, but history isn't usually on the city of Chicago side when it comes to lightning striking twice. That's just my opinion. Anyway, tell me your opinion. Peace.
Do the Bulls still trade Zach and Vooch if they're winning by the trade deadline? And really, Shay, I know this is not the answer you want, but it comes down to, what does this front office want to do, right? Do they look at how sustainable is that success, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is pass up yet again if the deals are best for them, and then next year they start off slow and they go back to what we saw from them before, and then now you can't move them again. So the Bulls may feel like, depending on what deals are offered, if there are deals that they feel like may not be on the table, or if Vooch and Zach finish the season weak, they may take. And when it comes to Zach, like, I think it just comes down to how motivated are the Bulls to get off that money, right? That's what it comes down to, because Zach is back to Zach. He's back to the Zach LaVine, the efficient Zach LaVine. Yes, he still has some of his mistakes, but he's back to that. So it really comes down to what direction and how comfortable they feel in how the Bulls' direction looks, how sustainable they feel that is. And that's the question that we have to ask, man. I don't know. Like, of course, the Bulls winning is the biggest thing for me as a fan, right? But as somebody who has to look at, of course, this draft, which is a very deep draft, look at the future of the Bulls, like, yeah, we're winning. We're at 500 right now. But if you look at this team and you say, all right, the ceiling of this team is maybe 41, 45 wins, but you don't feel confident that you can beat a team in a playoff series, where are you really at, right? So, like, it just comes down to how far they really think that this team can go. And we'll see how that's told over the story of this season, because, listen, like I said, the record's getting difficult. Between now and, like, November 18th, I think that's going to be really telling for just how good this team really can be. And let's see. All right, let's get into the next one. This one's from Brian Washington.
Yo, what's up, Haize? It's Brian Washington again, man. I see what you're talking about. Last time I called and was saying Ayo should start and Giddey should earn it. I got to give it to you, you know what I'm saying? He earned it. These 4 games, he earned that spot. And they do play better. I ain't against Giddey and all that. I just want to see him, earn, do what we expect him to do. Expect from him, and he's doing that. And the offense is run pretty smooth. They got to take care of the basketball a little better, you know what I'm saying? Cut them turnovers down. The defense, we know we lacking in defense, and we know Giddey's lacking defense, but with that team defense you was talking about, if they do that, we'll be good. Bulls will be good. Because the offense, motherfuckers got to deal with the offense that they run. It's good. They just got to get that team defense. There ain't got to be a lot of individual defense if they working as a team with defense, bro. You're going to see some exciting things like I was saying earlier. It's going to be an exciting season. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to them getting better. All the shit that they going through now, I hope they going to get it out their system now, And later on, you be that good team. That team, motherfuckers, you got to come play them. That's all I want to see from them. I ain't expecting a lot from them. They just got put together, but I want them to be that team that, like, other teams be like, man, we got to come play tonight. That's how I want the Bulls, and that's what they doing to me, man. And they got to keep that up. Keep that defense, that team defense, man. They got to keep that intact, man. And they going to be all right. They're going to be all right. I give it to Josh Giddey. He proved himself. He proved a lot of haters, and I wasn't ready for him to just come in and start myself. But shit, he earned it, bro. He earned it. I got to give it to him. And Zach is a beast right now. This is Zach LaVine I want to see. I want to see him even step up as a team leader, be more vocal and talk to the players. Because it takes him to get into Patrick Williams' ass. He take the leader and that coach. Them two, Donovan and Zach, they the ones got to get P. Will on his shit. It take them to like the fact, because you got to follow your leader, man. You got to follow your leader, and Zach's still the leader of this team. He's still the man of this team, and he's showing that. And shit, he looking like a keeper right now. The way he playing, he look like a keeper. All the players we want them to trade are playing fucking great. You know what I'm saying? All the players we want them to get rid of, they're playing great basketball right now. Playing good basketball. But what you think? I got to agree with you on that, man. That team defense and Giddey has earned his spot. I take everything I said back. He earned that, man. And I love it. Good day, man. See.
Defense will be a key factor on how good this team could be, because the offense seems like, hey, listen, the offense is good, right? And, of course, how sustainable that offense is as well. But the team defense that we're playing right now, Wes Unseld Jr. has us going, right? And I agree with you also that Zach LaVine is playing amazingly well right now. But what could lead him out of this team, even with how good he's playing, isn't about the fans wanting him out or not. It's about the front office, right? And and Brian, you've always called in your thing's always been this team winning now, right? And you're basically like, hey, we got one now. Why trade something for something that's uncertain? And I understand that perspective. But the front office could very well look at it and say, all right, if the ceiling of this team is a first-round exit every single year, then why are we paying somebody $40+ million for that, right? That could be. I'm not saying that is. Again, I'm laying out the situations and the scenarios that could be there and could exist. We just got to see how it's going to work out, man. And, nothing's straightforward as what we like to, as fans, like to think. And so there are always motivations of the front office. There are always goals of the front office that we may not be able to see. In this front office, we never really know how they view the world either. So Zach is playing great. He's playing good. And the Bulls, and the funny thing about it is him playing great may actually be what gets him out of here, right? So that's just sports, man. It's weird, bro. But we'll see. I think a lot of Bulls fans are very happy with how this team has looked overall. But we definitely got some things that we need to work at, and we'll see where the Bulls really stack up. Because, like I said, the schedule gets harder and harder for the Bulls. We got one more against the Utah Jazz. But even what we saw last night against the Brooklyn Nets, you can take nothing for granted. No team for granted. Nothing's easy at all. And we'll see where that leads us. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one is from Bastion.
What's up, Haize? Happy Halloween, man. It's Bastion. Just wanted to follow up on your early drop this morning. I think the Bulls, or in my opinion, the Bulls have surpassed my early expectations. I really expected them to struggle hard defensively coming out, and that they would take, at least a couple of weeks to even start showing some signs of resistance defensively. But they're showing they're professionals and answering the call early. I hope they really keep it up. The one concern I have is if we win too many games early and they end up trading Zach and Vooch, then we'll drop off, but will we drop off enough to still get our pick? Other than that, I think Pat is going to find his rhythm. It's probably going to take half a season, maybe a little earlier, but I think he's playing great D. And everybody I talk to seems to be ignoring that. But in my opinion, I think he's playing great D. I hope he keeps that up and he builds on his offense and that he becomes another weapon for this team. Thanks for everything you do, and you have a great day. Be safe. Bye.
Yeah, man. Wes Unseld Jr. is doing a really good job with this defense. I keep saying it, and I keep talking about Wes Unseld Jr. because he's the mastermind of this defense. And the fact that the Bulls are still top 10 in defensive rating, or the bottom 10 of points allowed per game, but the Bulls are playing better defensively than I think a lot of us expected with the personnel that we have here. And they're just finding a way to getting it done, right? So, we'll see what happens there. Much like I said with the last two voicemails as well, we'll see what happens with Vooch and LaVine. It's going to be really interesting to see how this winning either helps them move them or keeps them from moving. It's such an interesting place to be in because Vooch and Zach are playing amazing. I can't stress that enough. These guys are balling, man. And yeah, it really comes down to what the future, how this team looks, how this team views it, the front office views it, man. And overall, I'll say this, is that the clarity that we're looking for, keep in mind, it's going to come at some point in time. And by that trade deadline, we'll really know what this front office's goals are for the rest of the season. And it could be in a rough end to the season. Maybe we're having all our fun now, right? And the Bulls fans are having fun now because they're going to sell off Vooch. They're going to sell off Zach. They're going to sell off Torrey Craig. They're going to move some guys, right? That's a big possibility because either way that you look at it, with how the Bulls are exceeding right now, we're playing well, but is this a championship team? No. Is this even a team that can make it to the second round of the playoffs? That remains to be seen, right? That's that. And if the team's goal is, hey, we need to clear up, be as close, get us as close as we can to a championship contender, which should be the goal every single year. That can lead them to do some weird shit, man. Some weird shit. And we'll see what that means, Bastion. But all right, let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Reggie.
Also, if I'm happy the Bulls are, taking precautions with the guys on the team that are hurt. Like you said, they damn near killed Lou all day when he got sick. But I think it'll be fine if the guys take a week off, like Zach LaVine and Jalen Smith, because at this point of the season, it's only game, six. It's not like you're going to lose out on the playoffs or you're going to be so far behind. There's no hope. You just got to, fight yourself. But, yeah, I think a lot of guys take a week off. Go ahead, give guys like Julian Fields, David Terry, and Modest some extra minutes, and let's see what they can do. But, thanks.
Yeah, man, the Bulls medical staff ain't playing no games. And I, for one, love to see it because, like you said, we've seen this medical staff almost kill players in prior years, right? So this Bulls team has to continue to progress, and we'll see if they do that at the rate that we need them to do it at. But yeah, I love that they're playing it safe with these guys, because the last thing you want is guys to go out there and make something worse. Like Lonzo. Lonzo came out on his podcast and said if that grade 1, grade 2 sprain was not identified and they allowed him to play for it, it could have turned to a grade 3. He would have needed surgery and his season would have been over, right? So the medical staff immobilized the arm so it can't get worse, and they're sitting his ass down for 10 days. That's something that we have not always seen, that foresight from this medical staff. And so I, for one, am happy that they're playing it more safe with players and practicing precaution, because, hey, you could have now something that you were just losing 10 days of, Lonzo, could have turned into a season-ending injury. Now that would have been crazy. So you got to take all things into consideration, guys. But that's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.